So, today I want to talk about the Ohio teacher strike. As of August 22nd, the Columbus Education Association, a union based in Ohio, went on strike just before classes were scheduled to start. The union is 4,500 members strong and includes teachers, librarians, nurses, counselors, and other school staff. More than 94% of the union membership voted to approve the strike earlier this month, and after faulty negotiations on the side of the school board, the union declined to accept the school board's substandard final offer. So today, in solidarity with these important school teachers and staff, let's talk a little bit about the workers' demands. Now, most of the demands that are presented here have to do with working conditions. And when we recognize that this union is primarily the teachers, educators, and staff that work in schools, we have to remember that the working conditions here are also the working conditions of students as well as their learning environments, which means that many of these demands are for the children just as much, if not more so, than they are for the teachers. Now we have here that the CEA states, at issue is disagreement over learning conditions such as smaller class sizes, full-time art, music, and PE teachers at the elementary level, and functional heating and air conditioning in classrooms, as well as adequate planning time, a cap on the number of class periods during the school day, outsourcing positions to private for-profit corporations from outside the community, and recruiting and retaining the best educators for Columbus students. Now, according to some picket signs, there's also a desire for the students to be able to have school psychiatrists, counselors, social workers, and nurses in every single school. And as they pointed out in a post on Twitter, one of the other issues is that the air quality isn't good, and there are leaky ceilings, and paint is chipping off the walls in some of the school buildings. Now, while increased pay is on the table as well, the majority of these demands are not just for the teachers. In fact, most of these demands have to do with the safety of children. They are common sense necessities for students to thrive in an educational environment. Smaller class sizes, for example, allows more students to have one-on-one attention with their teachers. That can only benefit their outcomes. Now, art, music, physical education, they're all key components to development. Having the ability to regulate temperature like heat and air conditioning systems prevents children from getting sick from the frigid or blistering temperatures. Giving teachers adequate prep time enriches the lessons that students will learn, and also gives them time to fulfill the vast array of different roles and responsibilities that are required of them. Especially as the pandemic has rolled on, teachers have had to acquire even more hats to do the job that they're doing. And they need time to be able to perform all the different roles that they're being asked to fulfill during these times. And all of this should be done, all of the education should be done by high quality trained union pedagogues and not outsourced to these for-profit scabs with little to no training. It is also absurd to me that all of the schools do not have a proper staffing of nurses and counselors to the point that they need to be asked for and demanded. Again, these are common sense demands that should be standard and given. These are the basics, not something that teachers and staff should have to be fighting for. Now, it's also worth noting that this isn't the only location where these type of things are happening. A lot of school systems across the US do not have proper HVAC or ventilation systems. Some literally have mold growing in buildings, and many of them, as the union pointed out, have things like paint chipping off the walls, ceilings leaking, and lead in the water in many instances. Now, CNN goes on to describe that these strikes come as schools around the country face critical teacher shortages and low morale among educators, exacerbated by the pandemic, low pay, and even more crowded classrooms. Also weighing on teachers are a growing number of school shootings and changing guidance on what educators are allowed to teach. Now, as for this supposed teacher shortage, The phrasing should be quite familiar to anybody who's been watching recent news cycles and listened to businesses over the past few years of pandemic. A lot of these businesses have been crying about a labor shortage and talking about how nobody wants to work. And as usual, this is another example of underpayment at work for the most important and difficult work that these teachers do. Whenever you see the word shortage being attached to a profession, it's very likely, and quite frankly, quite true, that it is actually a wage shortage. Because they're not paying teachers and staff enough nearly at all anywhere. And that's not even counting the hostile conditions that are being faced in these underfunded school buildings and the attacks on education that we've seen as of late. And speaking on the attacks on education, honestly, it's really great to see this union stepping up and hopefully fighting back against all these funding cuts and the conservative assaults on the teaching profession. There have been massive pushes by conservatives to attack public schools in any way possible, whether it's slashing budgets, making schools inhospitable, and preventing funding from being able to be used in quite the ways that these teachers are trying to get the funds to be used for, changing curriculums and preventing teachers from teaching certain topics, or any of the other myriad ways that they're trying to prevent public school teachers from teaching and doing their job. This is all being done in a push for private education and charter schools as a replacement to public and free education. We need to continue seeing strong union leadership fight back against these injustices. So, with all of that said, what has been the school board's reaction to all of this happening? Well, we actually know that the school board actually isn't doing much here. In fact, after walking away from negotiations on July 28th, the board and CEA returned to the bargaining table on August 10th at the request of the federal mediator. Despite CEA providing a comprehensive counterproposal on all outstanding non-economic items, the board not only failed to respond to CEA's proposal, they failed to offer CEA any proposals during the August 10th negotiations. Now, this is a common delay tactic that's used where they happen to not file their proper proposals and they delay things and everything. But this is why the strike is very important. And then furthermore, while union members and their supporters nearly unanimously pointed to school conditions as the most significant reason for strike, the two sides are also at odds over pay. Teachers had sought 8% annual pay increases, while the district's most recent offer included 3% pay bumps each year. Now, Jennifer Adair, the Board of Education president, released a statement after the 4-hour meeting that had occurred, pledging that a path forward would come soon. According to the school board, we are working to find a collaborative path forward. We don't have action on that to report yet, but we will soon. Our board fully recognizes the disruption and concern felt by our children and families and across Columbus. So, first of all, that 8% increase that the teachers are trying to get and the staff is trying to get barely covers inflation right now. Further, the fact that the school board not only didn't respond to the CEA's proposal and only offered a 3% increase is absolutely abysmal when negotiating a new contract. You need to cover at least inflation over the prior years. Now, further, it is both another example of why they don't have enough teachers, given that they're not paying them enough, and it's currently why these current teachers are striking. Naturally, also, they have to try to twist things, as if the teacher strike is actually the thing causing the disruption, and not the horrific conditions in which students, teachers, and staff are being consistently exposed to. So, the question now becomes, what can we, as the viewers, people who are watching this video, do to help support this union and their strike? Well, we have information about a petition that they want signed. They've asked anyone who is able to sign this petition. It is currently on screen if you want to take a look. And if you can fill all of it out and provide even a little more support, I'm sure it would be appreciated. The link for this will be in the description down below, so please feel free to pause and take the time to go fill that out right now. Now, other than that, continue to honor the picket line and spread the message about the petition and about the cause, and try to get people to sign on to the petition itself. I can only hope that more teachers and school staff strikes occur across the United States in the near future. Both students and these underpaid, overworked, and mistreated teachers, as well as staff, deserve safe conditions with small classrooms that can help foster a better educational environment for everyone. So with that said, if you've enjoyed what you've watched here today, consider liking the video, subscribing, and leaving a comment, as well as joining my Discord where we have political conversations like these. If you're in a financial place to do so, and only if you're in a financial place to do so, please do consider supporting me on Patreon, especially as political content like this can often be demonetized on YouTube. The links for everything that I mentioned are in the description down below. And with that said, my name is Anarchist Tara. Thank you so much for watching.